everyone, it's Laura. Today we're going to do a quick video on how to heat emboss. This is not going to be a video on all of the really cool things you can do with heat embossing, but instead just the basic of how to do it. So there's a number of things that you're going to need. Right here I've got a variety of examples of them. You don't need all of this stuff, but you will need some sort of watermark or sticky, what do you call this, like ink pad. So when you open it, it looks like that. This is kind of dirty because it's used, but this one's a Versamark. This is the most well-known and definitely my favorite. This one, like that. And what this is it's just sticky. So it doesn't have any color to it or anything like that. This one's perfect medium. So it's got like a sticky kind of feel to it. There's also a pen that can work as well. So I'm going to set these ones aside because I'm not going to use them, but they are examples of the type that you need. So if you can find them, there you go. So I'm going to use Versamark because that's the one I am most comfortable with and the one that I like the best. So you need a watermark stamp pad or sticky stamp pad. You're going to need whatever it is that you want to heat emboss onto. I'm just going to use this bookmark. You will need some sort of stamp. So right here I've got Bow Bunny stamps. This is called Doodle Blooms stamp. So I'm just going to use one or two of these. I'm going to use my Stamp Perfect. You can use blocks. You can use one of the other type of stamp positioning things. This is what I have on hand. That's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to set these aside to make a little bit more room. You are going to need something to catch the powder in. I like to use coffee filters just because when I'm done with them, I don't feel guilty about throwing them away. You can use scratch piece of paper. You can, some people use, they have little Tupperwares that they keep their embossing powders in. They use that. This is just what I'm comfortable using. So I'll be using this today. I also have a little spoon to help distribute the powder. These come in a package of like a whole bunch. I don't know, like 50 of them, I think. You can get them at the dollar store. So I just keep these on hand. Set that aside. You will need embossing powders. There's a lot of different types of embossing powders and brands. I have a couple of examples here. There's some from Recollections from Michaels. There's Zing. There's Wow. This one's from Lindys Stamp Gang. There's lots of different ones. They come in a lot of different colors, and some of them have some really cool effects and things like that. Clear is also very good to have on hand if you like to do heat embossing for a number of different techniques. Black is another one. That white, black, and clear are generally the three like standbys, the ones that you always end up having for a bunch of different types of techniques that use heat embossing. So I have a number of different embossing powders here, but there's lots of different brands. You can find them all over the place, especially online. And there's a lot of different specialty types too. I have wipies on hand just in case there's a mess. I always have wipies on hand. Let's see. This is a little pocket, or not pocket, but little packet of, I believe it has baby powder in it or cornstarch or something like that. It's called an anti-static pouch. You'll need something like this. Either this or there's also this kind here that it brushes on. You will need one of these of either type. I prefer this kind because I don't have as much problem getting it out. Whereas this one, sometimes it clogs up a little bit and I just don't want to fight with it. So, but these are both, like this one's by EK Tools. This is a great one to have. I'm not saying don't get it. It's just I prefer the little pouch. So you will need something like this. This will help immensely. I also have Swiffer Cloths that are cut up into little strips. This will help when it comes time to clean up any powder that has spilled anywhere. This also works well. This is just a microfiber cloth. I find both work in different circumstances. So I usually have both on hand at any given time. And then the majorly important item that you absolutely have to have in order to do heat embossing is a heat tool. Mine is a Wagner one. I absolutely love this one. There's a number of different brands out there, a number of different types. My very first heat tool was actually one from Harbor Freight that is used to put the smooth little strip along the edge of like counters and tables and stuff. That was my very first one, and it works. However, it gets way too hot and has a tendency to burn your paper. And there's some that are better than others. So it's up to you to find, you know, the one you're comfortable with, the one you like the best. This is my favorite. All right, so this is very important. You cannot do heat embossing without this, and without powder, and without some sort of sticky thing for the powder to adhere to. The powder is basically like a powdered plastic. So it goes on like a powder, and then you use the heat embossing tool to melt it, and then it turns into like a melted plastic. It's really cool. So we're gonna get started on this. I'm gonna use this one today so that it's easy to see. Here's my heat tool. This is what I am going to be using as my example here. By the way, it does matter what you have underneath your project. If you have one of the thick like cutting mats with like the grid on it that you can use, like a self-healing mats that you can use like any type of cutter on, I would be careful of that. It will warp with the heat. You need to make sure whatever is underneath your project can take the heat and won't warp. So just a heads up, some of these mats work well for it, some of them don't. You need to know if you're going to do heat embossing. All right, so there's that. There's that. Here are these. Oh, another thing that's handy, I have these little reverse pliers, but some sort of tool, any type of tool, it can even be a pencil or whatever. You don't want to be trying to melt something while you're holding it, because you will burn your fingers. So you want something that you can hold on to it with, but has your fingers out of the way. So I have a little pair of tweezers. Okay, so what we are going to do first is we're going to pick out the stamps that we want. I'm going to set that aside. Put this right in here. And I'm only going to do one of these, so it doesn't really matter where it ends up getting put. But I'll just go ahead and put it there at the edge. So we'll put that on there. Let's see, what stamps do I want to use? Let's see if I can get this to fit on there. That'd be awesome if it would. It doesn't look like it. Alright, so we're going to do just individual flowers here. Go ahead and start up here. If you can hear the noise in the background, that is thunder. We've got a storm coming in. So let's say that I want this flower right there, like that. I'm going to go ahead and close that up, pick up the stamp. The next step, very, very, very important, is this little anti-static tool. Now, I've touched this paper a number of times, so it's going to have the oils from my fingers all over it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this little tool to get the oils off so that this powder is less likely to stick in places I don't want it to stick. So I'm going to use this little thing. Got powder everywhere. That's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. Set that aside. Put that back. Okay, so I've got my Versamark here. Move this over a little bit. Get those out of the way as well. So I'm going to take my Versamark and I'm going to stamp this on there. Now this takes a little while to dry just as it is. So if you wanted to do this and then realized you forgot to do something or whatever, you do have a little bit of time to wait. But I'm going to go ahead and press that down right there like that. Okay, it's hard to see it on there, but it is there. So I'm going to take this off. And like I said, you have time. So if I wanted to do a few more, then I could go ahead and move it and do it and still have enough time. So I'm going to pick this up and move this out of the way. Lay that down. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it, but the stamp is right there. I am going to take a little spoon and one of these and my embossing powder. Put it in there. Open this up. So I'm going to take this right here and we're just going to sprinkle it on top of where I stamped. And then I'm just going to kind of flick it a little bit and see how it stuck to where I stamped. But there's not any big evidence of like fingerprints or anything like that. If there was some powder that had like stuck where I didn't want it to, you can take a paintbrush or something of that effect and kind of just flick it away and wipe the powder away. Be careful of the original design though. But if you do that and you accidentally get the original design, that's okay. Just just pour the powder on again and lightly tap it off. Okay, so I'm going to set this out of the way because I don't want to melt the whole jar. So the spoon also helps for spreading some of that powder on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to lay this flat down on here. I could hold it with this, so I could hold it like that. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to lay it down. And I'm going to use this to hold it still. So I'm going to grab my heat tool here. And I'm going to turn it on and point it up into the air. And I'm going to let it warm up a little bit. I'm going to give it a few minutes to warm up. Or not a few minutes, but a few seconds to warm up. And then we'll go ahead and heat this area. Okay, so I'm going to use this to hold it down. And I'm going to blow on here. And I'm going to watch it kind of melt. Okay. So, it melted all of the powder. And it kind of turned like this shiny plasticky kind of look. And that's how you know to kind of move on. But you do need to be careful not to have the heat on it for too long because you will burn the paper. Like you can see, it's starting to burn there. So we're going to do another one in a different color. So hopefully you can see the change. Ooh, there's the thunder again. So that you can see the change of how quickly it melts. So you can see how quickly you need to move. So let's find a good one that will really show you as it's melting. Okay, so I'm going to use this silver one right here. So hopefully you can see it melt a little bit easier. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to get my stamp right here. Put this back in here. I'm going to take this off and I'm going to clean it real quick. One thing about the Versamark and stuff like that is you do need to make sure you clean your stamps pretty well because it will stay, a residue will stay on your stamp and on your stamp block. So you definitely need to clean them. So let me go ahead and put this one. Yeah, that looks good. Right there. Pick it up. Alright. Anti-static tool. Right there like that. Alright, let's get the Versamark and smoosh it all over our stamp. Whoops, and it picked up the stamp. Alright, so I didn't press that on there hard enough, so I'm going to use a block. There we go. Oh, I picked up the stamp again. Stop it. It's too sticky. Too sticky, sticky. Alright, let's try this again. Okay, let me wipe off my fingers. And then we'll go ahead and stamp that right on there. There we go. Close that up. Take my bookmark out. Being careful where I touched it. Alright. I have another coffee filter here and my silver embossing powder. Open that up right there. Alright. So, pour that on there. Another thing you can do is use a spoon. Tap it a little bit. Make sure there's no extra powder anywhere. Now, if you want to change colors, like I did here, you need to make sure you do all of one color, or one color, heat emboss it, and then do the next color. Then that way you won't have a mixture of the powders. Alright, so we'll set this aside over here. Alright, so hopefully you'll be able to see the change on this one. Grab my heat tool, turn it on, let it warm up for a few seconds, and then we'll go ahead and melt that. Alright, there you have it. Now it's still a little warm, it still needs to set. You need to give it a couple of seconds after you've done it to let it cool off and set. But that's how it turns out. Pretty cool, isn't it? So you can use lots of different types of stamps to do this. Excuse me. There are special powders, embossing powders that are really good for highly detailed stamps or really intricate types of stamps. There are powders that are thicker that are meant for more wide-lined kind of stamps. So, you know, experiment, try it out, see how it goes. But this is definitely one of my favorite antiques. It's not an antique. One of my favorite techniques. I use it quite often. I know a lot of people are afraid of doing it because it seems like it's super messy. But for the most part, it really isn't. All I have to do, get the extra powder off my spoon. Get my microfiber cloth. Just wipe off the bottom of the jar. Take this and kind of squeeze it into half like that so you can easily pour it back into the jar like that, and then throw that away. And it was that quick and simple. Wrong top. There we go. It was that quick and simple, and we're done with that. If there is a little bit of powder here, that's where the Swiffer comes in really handy. And we're done. So we can do the same with the red one. Here we go. Just take this and wipe off the bottom of the jar. Flatten that in half and pour it in. Hopefully I'm still in shot. Sorry if I am out of view. I have it closer so that I don't accidentally spill it. You take it, crumple it up, throw it away, put the top back on. If there's any left over on your surface here, oh, that's a wipey, that ain't gonna work. Then use your Swiffer, got it all cleaned up, and you're done. Just make sure your Versamark is closed and that you clean off your stamp, and you're done. That's how quick and simple this is. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you like the video, click like, hit subscribe, check out other videos, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Go check out our Facebook page and our website and all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining me today. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.